The Middle East of 2025 is a geopolitical minefield, a stark evolution from the regional tensions of decades past. At its heart lies a simmering, often erupting, conflict between Israel and Iran, a rivalry that has long cast a long shadow over global stability. But by the middle of the 21st century, this ancient animosity has transformed into something far more dangerous, possessing the very real potential to drag the United States into a catastrophic, multi-front war. This isn't just about regional power plays anymore. It's about the erosion of global order, the weaponization of advanced technology, and the terrifying prospect of a nuclearized standoff. The pathways to American entanglement are numerous and deeply intertwined with the increasingly desperate stakes for both Jerusalem and Tehran. Beyond the brink, the nuclear nightmare scenario. The most immediate and chilling risk to the U.S. stems from the nuclear ambitions of Iran. For decades, the international community, led by Washington, has sought to prevent Tehran from acquiring a nuclear weapon. However, by 2025, the landscape has fundamentally shifted. Repeated Israeli strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities, whether declared or clandestine, have pushed Iran to accelerate its enrichment programs, often in hardened, underground sites designed to withstand conventional attacks. The narrative from Tehran has hardened. Nuclear capability is no longer merely a deterrent, but an existential imperative. Israel, for its part, views a nuclear-armed Iran as an unacceptable threat, a red line that justifies preemptive action. This creates a dangerous feedback loop, where each Israeli strike pushes Iran closer to a breakout, and each Iranian advance intensifies Israel's determination. The U.S. finds itself caught in this escalating dance of destruction. Washington has long been Israel's staunchest ally, providing immense military and diplomatic support. Should Israel launch a massive, decisive strike aimed at fully dismantling Iran's nuclear infrastructure, an operation likely requiring bunker-buster bombs only the U.S. possesses, America will be inextricably linked to the offensive. Even if the U.S. would provide only intelligence or logistical support, or even simply fail to actively dissuade Israel, the perception in Tehran and across the Middle East will be one of American complicity. Iran's retaliation would almost certainly target not only Israel, but also U.S. assets and personnel in the region, triggering a direct military confrontation. The specter of Iran achieving even a rudimentary nuclear device in the aftermath, or worse, retaliating with conventional missiles laced with radiological material, is a grim reality that could plunge the world into an unprecedented crisis. The fallout, both literal and political, would be immeasurable, leading to a scramble for non-proliferation in an already volatile region. The expanding arc of conflict. The Israel-Iran conflict has always been characterized by proxy warfare, with both nations leveraging non-state actors to project power and avoid direct, costly engagements. By 2025, this network of proxies has become far more sophisticated and lethal. Iran has consistently armed and trained groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon, various Iraqi militias, and Houthi rebels in Yemen, providing them with increasingly advanced missile and drone technology. These groups, often operating independently but aligned with Iranian strategic goals, can strike at will against Israel and its allies, including American interests. Consider the Strait of Hormuz, a critical choke point for global oil supplies. Iran has repeatedly threatened to close it. A major Israeli-Iranian escalation could see the Strait of Hormuz become a war zone, impacting global energy markets and triggering a worldwide economic recession. The U.S., with its significant naval presence in the region, would be compelled to intervene to ensure freedom of navigation, likely drawing into direct clashes with Iranian naval forces or their proxies. Beyond the Gulf, the tentacles of this conflict extend across the Levant and even into North Africa. Hezbollah, armed with an arsenal of precision-guided missiles, remains a formidable threat to Israel's northern border. Any large-scale conflict would undoubtedly see missile barrages exchanged between Israel and Lebanon, with spillover effects on U.S. personnel stationed in the broader region. Iraqi militias, already hostile to the American presence, could intensify attacks on U.S. bases. The U.S. would face the daunting challenge of defending its allies, its economic interests, and its own forces against a multi-front assault by well-armed and dispersed adversaries. The cost in American lives and resources would be astronomical, raising difficult questions about the sustainability of U.S. engagement in the Middle East. A new battlefield. The Israel-Iran conflict in 2025 is not solely fought with conventional weapons. It is also a high-stakes arena for advanced technological warfare. Both nations have invested heavily in cyber capabilities, drone technology, and artificial intelligence-driven systems. Cyberattacks targeting critical infrastructure, energy grids, financial systems, communication networks are now routine, designed to sow chaos and undermine national resilience. An Israeli-Iranian war would inevitably unleash a torrent of such attacks, potentially cascading beyond the region to impact global digital networks. The U.S., being the most interconnected nation globally, is highly vulnerable to these digital ripples. American companies, financial institutions, and even government agencies could become collateral damage, or even direct targets, in a tit-for-tat cyber war between Israel and Iran. Supply chains would be disrupted, vital services paralyzed, and national security compromised. The attribution of cyberattacks is notoriously difficult, making it challenging for the U.S. to formulate an appropriate response without risking further escalation. The proliferation of affordable and effective drone technology, from surveillance drones to armed swarms, also transforms the battlefield. These unmanned aerial vehicles, often difficult to detect and intercept, can deliver precise strikes or collect intelligence, creating a new layer of threat that challenges traditional air defense systems. The U.S., with its advanced military technology, would be a prime target for Iranian or proxy drone attacks, testing the limits of its defensive capabilities and potentially causing significant casualties. The implications for American national security in the digital and aerial domains are profound, requiring a constant state of vigilance and investment in countermeasures. The erosion of alliances and the shifting sands of geopolitics. The Israel-Iran conflict in 2025 also poses a significant risk to the intricate web of U.S. alliances and diplomatic leverage in the Middle East and beyond. While Saudi Arabia and other Gulf states generally align with the U.S. and Israel against Iran, a protracted and devastating conflict could force them to reevaluate their strategic calculus. The immense economic disruption, the potential for refugee flows, and the sheer instability unleashed by a regional war could lead these nations to seek alternative security arrangements or even distance themselves from Washington to mitigate risks. This would weaken the U.S.'s influence and complicate its ability to project power in a critical region. Furthermore, the conflict could be exploited by rival global powers like China and Russia. Both nations have economic and strategic interests in the Middle East and could seek to capitalize on American entanglement to expand their own influence. Russia, already a key player in Syria, could deepen its military ties with Iran, providing advanced weaponry and intelligence, further complicating any potential U.S. intervention. China, increasingly reliant on Middle Eastern energy, might seek to mediate or even directly intervene to protect its economic interests, potentially challenging U.S. dominance in the region. This geopolitical maneuvering would strain U.S. diplomatic resources and force difficult choices about resource allocation between different theaters of global competition. The long-term implications for the U.S.'s global standing and its ability to shape international events would be severe. Endless war. Beyond immediate geopolitical and military risks, the Israel-Iran conflict carries significant domestic repercussions for the United States. A sustained military involvement in the Middle East, with its inevitable human and financial costs, would place an enormous burden on the American economy and psyche. Public fatigue with endless wars is already a prominent factor in U.S. foreign policy discussions. A new, protracted conflict in the Middle East, especially one without a clear exit strategy or achievable objectives, would likely erode public support, fuel political polarization, and divert crucial resources from domestic priorities like infrastructure, healthcare, or climate change. The human cost, in terms of American lives lost and veterans requiring long-term care, would be a tragic and enduring consequence. The financial cost, measured in trillions of dollars, would add to the national debt and potentially trigger economic instability. Moreover, the conflict could exacerbate internal divisions within American society, particularly concerning foreign policy and alliances. The political pressure to intervene or to withdraw would be immense, creating a volatile domestic environment. By 2025, the U.S. is likely to be grappling with its own internal challenges, from an aging population to climate impacts. The additional strain of a major Middle East conflict could prove to be a breaking point, undermining American strength and cohesion on the global stage. A precarious future. The trajectory of the Israel-Iran conflict towards 2025 presents a deeply concerning outlook for the United States. The interconnectedness of global security, energy markets, and technological advancements means that a full-scale war between these two regional powers would not remain contained. From a terrifying prospect of a nuclear escalation to the pervasive threat of proxy wars and cyberattacks, the pathways for American entanglement are numerous and fraught with peril. The erosion of alliances and the domestic strains of prolonged conflict further underscore the gravity of the situation. Preventing this calamitous future requires a proactive and nuanced U.S. foreign policy, one that goes beyond managing crises to actively de-escalating tensions, fostering diplomatic solutions, and addressing the root causes of instability. Without such a concerted effort, the Middle East will remain a tinderbox, and the U.S. will find itself increasingly at risk of being consumed by its flames.